Hey, it's Jordan. I'm here in Flint, Michigan, outside a polling place. This is actually the first election since the water crisis in Flint that Rick Snyder will not be on the ballot. His term is over, which I think a lot of residents are happy about. So you have the governor's race between Democrat Gretchen Whitmer and Attorney General Bill Schuette, as well as some other races. So I'm here with two people who just voted. I wanted to ask, I've been reporting on the water crisis a lot. You don't need to tell me who you voted for, but I'm assuming this election means a lot for Flint, since you finally have the chance to, put some people in office that might actually do something.
Right. Yes, that would help because, really this water situation, it was just ridiculous, A lot of people getting sick behind it, and I don't see why, it shouldn't even happen no from the first beginning, but I don't know. So I hope we'll be being elected this time. I hope they do something about it, and make sure, they can get this water situation, straightened out there.
So I take it you don't buy Governor Snyder's thoughts that the water is safe here and back to normal.
I don't believe it. I mean, I can't take it. I'm still drinking bottled water. So, I don't trust the water by first drinking. And they're saying that you can you can cook on it and you can bathe and take a bath in it. But, that's just a chance. You have to take a bath. So far I've been taking the bath, so ain't nothing happened to me on that deal. But first drinking, no, I just continue drinking with no more bottled water.
Yeah. And you were shaking your head too. Tell me how you feel.
Well, I feel the same way about what he was saying. This water crisis got to get right. For one thing, I don't feel, at home, that I can just relax with water and stuff like that. Water is very important. We got to have clean drinking water, and that's what we got to have in this town to be able to survive. And
what's interesting to me is, you look nationally, the whole media is covering the whole country, but it's stories like this and communities like this that have kind of been forgotten, which is why a lot of people have been so angry with politicians on both sides. The Democratic governor, her position, the candidate for governor, Gretchen Whitmer, she talks about, re-providing bottled water distribution, accelerating the pipes. Do you guys have suspicions of both parties, since, the water crisis happened under Snyder, but Democrats have also played a part as well?
Yeah, and I hope Democrats to be able to us get some clean water, for one thing. We need that in the state of Michigan. We need that. Back in '69, everything was okay. Then I don't know what's happened. Between then, everything just got kind of messed up. But now, I'm planning on staying here, and I'd like for clean water to come back through. You know what I'm talking about?
You guys have renewed hope, because it was kind of like, what can you do as citizens when the governor is the very person who caused this? His whole administration is being basically charged, and you're paying for it with your taxes for his lawyers. So a lot of residents I met felt like, well, they're not gonna investigate themselves. So do you feel hope now that if it is going to be a new governor, but let's say it's the Democrat, she's up in the polls, do you think the talk is going to match the action?
Well, we talk the talking, but right now I want to see if they can walk it right. Get new clean pipes, in these systems, in these facilities where people can be comfortable and enjoy themselves and feel safe. Because it's like I said, it's stuff like that can make people sick. You don't have to. From the beginning, we didn't have to even go through that. I don't know why, but I don't know what they were saving. I don't know.
We've gone door to door, and there's still people having rashes, hair loss.
Some people immune systems is lower than others, and they can catch stuff faster than others. I ain't saying I'm not gonna catch nothing. Maybe mine won't be on later on. But I hope whoever take the seat this time for us, the water situation, I hope they they get everything straightened out for us.
What about the economy? Because we drive around Flint. I mean, it's been pretty rough for years. This used to be the home of General Motors, vehicle city, but federally, state-based, the investment has totally gone away. You could drive a half hour to other towns, and it's like a completely different state, completely different country, as far as shops and restaurants and people on the streets. It's communities like Flint, not just with the water, but with the economic development that has really suffered.
Yeah, and another thing, they need to bring another factory back here and to help out a whole lot of peoples, you know. I mean, we just got Chevrolet on the factory here, and you know, maybe some other little factory, but we need to bring back a big factory here, man, you know, to take care of Flint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Last question. You know, it seems like a lot of people here, you still have people lining up for water, some people for 3 to 5 hours on those lines. What does it say about America that this is 4.5 years later? 4.5 years later, you got people, mostly poor people, if we're being honest, waiting for bottled water. Is that how democracy should be? Is that?
No, it shouldn't even be that way from the beginning. You know, like I said, it's all started with that bad water. That bad water. If we had no bad water, I'm pretty sure everything would be smooth out, level out, you know. But ever since that come in, things just been out of control. And then, like I said, I hope whoever be in this seat this time, hope they can straighten this out. You know, put new pipes down the way people, you know, they had old pipe with the water went through there. It caused a lot of sickness. You know, I hope they just get everything straightened out. So maybe I'm looking. Maybe later on down the line, maybe they, you know, get everything straightened out. But for right now, like we just waiting to see who gonna do something.
What's your name?
Merlin.
And your name?
James Evans.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Take care. Can they hear me? So, yeah, this is the first polling place we've gone to today. We decided to stay in Flint. You know, we could have gone other places, but the truth is, politics is national, but it's also local. And if you think about in terms of the importance, you know, a lot of these races, Beto O'Rourke versus Ted Cruz, Andrew Gillum versus Ron DeSantis, Andrew Gillum, that's very important to Florida, not just because Ron DeSantis is a mini Trump, but climate change is just, I mean, Florida's in trouble if you live in Florida. Texas, the climate change, it's very conservative, but why we decided to stay here is, you know, all the media, it's like Trump is America was just wonderful before Trump. And if we just re-elect the Democrats today, if Democrats take the House, if Democrats take the Senate, everything will be fine. Well, we wanted to be in Flint to show you that things like this are happening under Republicans and Democrats. Because, by the way, the city council in Flint, when this happened, was Democrat. The mayor was Democrat. Jennifer Granholm, who was a Democratic governor before Rick Snyder, she was the first one to insert an emergency manager in Michigan. So you have the Flint water crisis happening under Rick Snyder as the governor, but Barack Obama was the president. He was a Democrat. And this is the first election in Flint where Rick Snyder will not be on the ballot. So Jen and I were driving around yesterday doing some additional reporting. Definitely go check out our story. It's at the top of my Twitter page, a major investigative story where we found that basically the state of Michigan has been breaking EPA regulations throughout the water testing here. And by breaking the EPA regulations, they're basically artificially getting low lead levels, which is scary because that means they're not testing the right way, and who knows what the actual lead levels are. But we thought it was important to come here. We'll probably go to other polling places too, because, you know, the Democratic nominee for governor, you know, she's not my cup of tea as far as like a hardcore progressive. But in Michigan and in Flint, it's not about what flavor cup of tea or whether the cup of tea is progressive enough. It's whether that cup of tea is contaminated or not. So the Democratic nominee, Gretchen Whitmer, has boldly said, if I'm governor, we're going to reopen free water distribution in Flint. That's major. These people need state paid for water, period. Governor Snyder shut down those water pods in April, and he cited the very data that Jen and I have found has serious flaws and in many cases has been doctored. So they shut down those water pods, leaving the majority of residents here stuck. A lot of residents are seniors and can't go wait online for 5 hours at churches. And the churches are basically the last line of defense. They, when they have enough donated bottled water, have been opening up so that residents can come and get donated bottled water. But that's not enough. And most of the churches have been drying up on donations. We've talked to people that have waited online for 5 hours. We talked to people that can't go because they're working, so their family member goes for them. We've talked to people who literally are out of water at their home, bottled water that is, because nobody can wait on those lines. You know, you got kids, work. A lot of people work 2 to 3 jobs here. So, you know, while you're drinking bottled water or whatever you're drinking tonight, watching the election returns, Flint, this is 4.5 years this has been going on. We're not so far away from 5 years this has been going on. And a lot of people say, well, why do you know, this is great, but go cover other things. We're covering other things too. We're going to be covering a lot of things in the winter. And, you know, we're not going on vacation here at Status Quo. We got plans to go other places. But I felt, you know what? This literally is the first glimmer of hope these citizens here in Flint have had, because this governor, Rick Snyder, has basically, in addition to presiding over their poisoning, has basically left them to die after the fact. Because this governor and his environmental agency did everything they could to sweep this under the rug. Their testing, the testing that we found, was they intentionally violated EPA regulations by going into people's homes and letting their water run, in some cases for 5 to 10 minutes before collecting samples. That is basically flushing away the evidence. I won't get into the weeds of the science. Read the story if you want to know the details. But when you're flushing the water and you're running your water even for 30 seconds before taking a sample, you're potentially flushing out large quantities of lead. And why would they do that? Other than, as Aaron Brockovich said, the only reason for them to do that is literally to get a false result and report false information, which, by the way, is a crime. So we've been doing old school knocking on doors. We've knocked on, I mean, between the summer and just this week, probably 450 doors at this point. We've spoken with over 150 residents. But you heard from the 2 gentlemen I spoke to, you know, this is still going on here. And yes, there's water problems in other places, and we're going to try to cover as much as we can and as much as you'll help us fund. The GoFundMe link is right there in the description box. We're almost at $20,000 raised in this GoFundMe. We definitely need more. Jen could tell you behind the camera. I could tell you that these trips cost money, and we're actually probably going to I'm going to probably end up staying a little longer. I can't get into the details, but for some further reporting. So real investigative reporting takes real resources. But Flint, between all the churches in Flint and elementary schools, there's definitely a high turnout today. The polls showed that the Democratic candidate, Gretchen Whitmer, was up, I think, by 9 or 10 points. Her opponent is the Attorney General of Michigan, Bill Schuette. He is the one who has charged up to 15 people in the Flint water crisis, but there's one person he hasn't charged with anything, and that's Governor Rick Snyder. And you have to believe the Republican Attorney General. There's a reason he didn't charge Governor Rick Snyder, the Republican. I have sources that have also instructed me that people on the investigation, the official criminal investigation, felt they had enough evidence to charge Governor Rick Snyder. And this Attorney General stopped them from doing so. So this Attorney General, he also loves him some Donald Trump. He's all about building that wall. He talks the talk about Flint, but he didn't really start doing anything as far as looking into Flint or charging anyone until this became a national scandal. So we're going to stay on it. We're going to try to go see if there's more active polling places. And we're also, obviously, I'm going to try to be live later. It's tough because it's midterms, but we're still trying to report. So we have some meetings today and some other things. But we're going to try to be live later as results come in. I specifically, not as a journalist, but as a person, I'm really looking at that Texas race because I think it would be just wonderful for humanity if Ted Cruz was his lying, fake constitutionalist behind was thrown out of Congress. We'll see. I've reported on Beto O'Rourke. You know, he's not exactly the progressive he claims to be, but at this point, I would take a paper bag over Ted Cruz. I think he represents everything that is wrong and sinister about politics. I think he's very regressive, and I think it would be a real big thing, not only for national politics, but Texas politics. If a Democrat was able to win the Senate, I think it's been 25 years. I believe, since that's happened. We also, we also have to look at Georgia and Florida. Stacey Abrams, as well as Andrew Gillum. Neither are like capital P progressives, but as a white guy, I could also appreciate the history. If either of them won, that is historic. They would both be the first African-American governors in southern states, and Gillum in particular has been a little concerning as far as moonwalking away from, Medicare for all. He's kind of moved to the center during the election. So if he does win, he's going to have to be held accountable. Hey, can we interview you real quick? Real quick. Come on over. Did you just vote?
Yes, I did.
So we were talking to some other folks, and this is a big election for Flint because this is the first one where that Governor Snyder's off the ballot. Are you feeling hope? Whoever you voted for, are you feeling hope that if you get some people outside of a Snyder administration?
I feel a lot of hope. I feel a lot of hope.
Mm-hmm. And talk to me, because we've been reporting here on and off for 2 years. There's still 3 to 5 hour water lines. The governor shut down the pods, claiming the water is safe. Obviously, the Democratic governor has talked about reopening bottled water. But it seems to me that the Republicans, Snyder, have basically tried to sweep this under the rug and claim everything's just dandy now.
Yes, he has swept it under the rug. And hopefully he's out of there. I don't want to say who I voted for, but okay. I'm proud of who I voted for. Mm-hmm. That's all I can say.
And also, economically, it's not just the water. Flint has been left behind, like so many other communities, the last 20, 30 years. You see closed down factories, closed down stores, closed down everything. Do you feel, whether it's Whitmare, Schuette, do you actually think, a lot of these people talk the talk when they're running, and then all of a sudden, nothing?
That's so true. They do talk the talk, but I'm going to give them a chance. Who I voted for, I'm giving them a chance. Hopefully, it'll be better for us. That's all I'm looking for right now.
And what's your name?
Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy. Appreciate it. So there you have it. You see from the people we're talking to, like, just the fact that this election guarantees no Rick Snyder as governor, it's like a weight is being lifted. And I want to make a point. I have been critical of the media coverage of the Russia hysteria because, there's actual real threats to democracy that have been going on in silence for many, many years here. And Flint is a perfect example of that. The Flint water crisis would have never happened if not for an unelected emergency manager that this governor, Rick Snyder, plopped down and plopped in to Flint, Michigan, claiming, we need a more Republican, fiscally Republican person to run Flint. So the emergency manager that was put in here basically neutered the elected mayor, the elected city council, where an unelected emergency manager was making the decisions for a whole city. And Flint at the time had over 100,000 people living here. So the unelected emergency manager decided, hey, let's build, well, he didn't decide this, but while we're building a privatized water pipeline, let's just, to save some money, switch to the Flint River, which, if you live in Flint, is the equivalent of the Hudson River in New York. It's disgusting, all sorts of pollution. General Motors has been dumping in there since the early 20th century. So let's take the toxic Flint River water, and they decided let's not add proper chemical treatment to the water, something called corrosion control chemicals, because hey, they're just poor people, poor black people, poor white people, whatever. That's how this happened, because an unelected emergency manager was put into power. So when I hear about our democracy under threat, well, that's real threat, because you want to know something? Russia, threat to democracy, what exactly is the threat? That people's minds are being brainwashed on social media by Russian trolls? When people are poisoned, that's actually a terrible outcome. And that's what happened here. So we can't, why we keep coming back is you can't allow that to be normalized. You can't allow government corruption, privatization, run amok. And by the way, they won't say it, I will. Barack Obama was president. He could have done a lot more to make this an urgent priority, and he did nothing. He did come and drink a glass of filtered water. So let's not let the Democrats off the hook, as well as Governor Snyder here. So we're going to be out and about today. Definitely check out the channel later. We're going to try to go live when results start coming in. Anything I'm missing? Anyone watching?
Yeah.
And also, I implore you, we're almost at $20,000 on that GoFundMe, right? If you got, however many people are watching, $5 each gets us closer to our goal. Our overall goal is $50,000, but you got to crawl before you can walk. We've raised a hell of a lot of money so far, but we're showing you what we're going to do. We're not telling you what we're going to do. A lot of media networks ask for money, and then they don't exactly do what they're saying they're going to do. We are. So we've been to Dallas. We're in Flint now. We're going to be headed other places this winter. We need your help. We just launched the website, statuscoup.com. Our YouTube channel is growing. So this is definitely a startup, and as such, we need the grassroots army behind us to lift us. So share this video. If you can't contribute, share the video. If you can't contribute, share the video anyway. And you know the deal. You got $100. $100 gives you a hat or a shirt. $127 gets you both. And we got some other goodies for higher amounts too. So thank you to everyone who's contributed. The description is right there. You could click on that and support. And we'll be live at later parts of the day as well. Thanks for watching.